Everybody stand up.
It's not.
We ask all the vets to say a prayer, and we will have a day of allegiance.
Let's pray. Again, Father, we are grateful for the day that you've given to each of us. And thankful that to be living in the place where I live and allowing us to do what we do. I pray, Lord, that as we talk about the issues of our town, that we open and honest in everything that we do pleases you. For we pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excuse me for that. Okay, roll call.
So Board of Aldermen roll call for a public meeting dated August 23rd, 2018. Alderman Betts.
Present.
Alderwoman Dorey. Alderman Dorey is noted to be absent. Alderman Gardner. Alderman Gardner noted to be absent. Alderman McCoy. Alderman McCoy noted to be absent. Alderman Probst. Alderman Probst noted to be absent. A quorum does not exist.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Well, we've recorded, we've advertised, that we're just having public meetings to discuss, the hydro royalty and, the calculation of it. For those who were here last Tuesday, thank you for coming back. Appreciate y'all showing up. Anyway, so what I like to do is, if you have in front of you the fiscal year ended June 30th, according to ordinance, the calculation. These are cut and dried. This is black and white information. This is strictly dealing with the hydro. The royalties totaled last year for the hydro $10,549,235. The participation cost is also the cost that we have to pay for power. The town today is required to buy 6% of the power generated at the hydro. Energy of Louisiana buys the other 94%. And that price that we paid for it was set years ago when this contract was made, and right now it's at $150 a megawatt. So that participation cost and any incidental costs involved purchasing that power totaled $8,353,110. Last year, there's on item number 3 allowed for any kind of debt service that was approved prior to in previous years would be deducted at item number 3. Last year, the council and I agreed somewhat to the reasons why. That reserve, that subtraction of the debt, which was $300,000 and some north of $300,000 is how much that payment is on this complex, has been omitted from being deducted from that, which would allow more money to go to the residents had it be available and they had a good enough generation. One of the things we discussed last Tuesday is that I feel like going forward, whether it's me or another mayor, should not be able to obligate those monies or that any kind of capital projects that would exceed the monies available out of the surplus funds. For example, last year we had $600,000 that was over and above that the town could use for projects. However, if I went and jumped off and got a $6 million debt, that's $300,000 a year. That money would be gone in 2 years if you had it. Just like this year, what would the town do, if they obligated and the money wasn't there to pay the note? You'd have to dip in the general fund, and it's usually not there. It's that tight. So I would think going forward, whether it's me or whoever's going to be mayor of this town or the council, they would not encumber the town for future generations on something that might not be there. In other words, maybe that didn't need to spend this much money on this much stuff. We've got it, we got to deal with it, so let's move on from there. Number 4 in that calculation is the 38 mills calculation. There's a calculation that's in the ordinance, and basically what you do is you can transfer, it goes to the town of the utility fund Each month, the amount by which the town's normal cost of electric power and energy exceeds 38 mills per kilowatt hour. So normal cost of power and energy is the amount paid per kilowatt hour under the current or future power purchase agreements exclusive of power purchased under economic development rate schedules or any other discounted rate schedule which results in a cost which is less than 38 mills per kilowatt hour. And anybody who wants a copy of this, I'll be glad to give it to you. And it's pretty well, you go down the line of what you can do with those things. And at that point, we stopped because there's no, after that calculation, you did those two subtractions, which was participation cost and 38 mil calculation, that up in a negative 58,000 that wasn't available. There's no money available for rebate. So all I can tell people, I promise them, if it was supposed to be a rebate given, I'm giving it. But we have Elizabeth Tanner here, who is our hydro guru, and she spends a lot of time calculating and has a lot of history involved with hydro. Last year, the royalties for 2016-17 were $1.2 million higher, and that's where we got a rebate last year because that was the leftover after you did these other calculations. So it kills me that we don't have money to rebate to our customers. However, saying that, we are in the process of heavy negotiations of and looking at what to do with our utility rates. So we can start getting people money saved year round instead of just once a year, even though this will continue to be, something that as long as I'm there, we're gonna make sure that if it calculates to where the people get a rebate, we're gonna give the rebate. Not gonna be spent on something else. That's why I don't want to see us encumber any future generation or future mayors that money. Okay? Having said that, is anybody got a question from the floor at this time about where we're at so far? Any questions? Anybody want to ask another question? Now, I'm usually not that open about questions. No, I'm only kidding. Really, we are going to stay on task tonight and talk about the hydro. I would like for Elizabeth to, talk a little bit about, where the generation the hydro has and why it has, they didn't have a good year, it looks like this year.
Sure. So within the
it's not gonna hurt.
within the contracts that were signed back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a schedule of how much the power would cost and how much the royalty percentage would be. And it started in 1989 and it goes all the way through 2032. So the royalty percentage has been only increasing by maybe 1/10%. Sometimes year to year it didn't increase at all. However, the overall energy rate that Vidalia and Entergy pays has been going down. It peaked in 2012, 2013 at 205. 2014, 15, 16, it was 175, and right now we're at the lowest, which is 150, which overall on a month-to-month basis is better for the town because their energy bill is a little less. The 6% that they have to pay is less, but the royalties are based on the overall gross receipts. So you're receiving a little bit more of a royalty on a lot less money. So in the next few years, that gap will even out and the town will start netting more. It's just gonna take a few more years. And for instance, between 2017 and 2018, the royalty went up from 7.9% to 8%. Well, 2018 to 2019, it goes up to 9.2%, then 10.4, then 11.6, then 20. So in the next few years, there's going to be a lot of discussion on what to do with that money. Let me find my projections. All things held constant, the annual production, which of course you don't know what the river is going to do, but based on past production and everything else remaining constant, in 2019 the town could net anywhere from $4 to $4.5 million as compared to the 2 or so it's been for the past 10, 15 years. 2020, around 6 million. 2021, around 8. And then starting in 2022, it's anywhere from 18 million to 20 million. That is all projections based on river levels, but, so, that's where we are. Gross receipts are down, so.
Something you mentioned and talked about the last meeting that we haven't yet this meeting is the effect of curtailed production on this year's revenues, this past year's revenues that wasn't there the year before.
Okay. What Bill was talking about is, last week I was talking about some of the things, what has curtailed production from the hydro and some of the things that their issues they're dealing with. One of those issues, of course, you know, MISO is the ones who more or less govern and tell power plants all over the state when they can generate and when they can't. When they, you know, they'll tell them you got to curtail production or do this or do that, for whatever reason it might be. Well, the hydro, and it's because there's a line north of the city, it's called the red gum line, it's the energy line, that is not up to capacity what it should be to carry the load that the hydro is putting out to people, especially when it's on off-peak times when that power's sitting there, that it almost melt the line. So MISO would call the hydro plant, say, you got to close some gates. And when they close those gates, the Corps of Engineers only allows the gate change once a day. 24-hour period, they only allow one gate change. So for example, if they have to shut down 2 of those turbines turning and generating power, they can't turn those turbines back on for 24 hours. So when the next morning, when demand goes up and their hands are tied, they've got to have those 2 turbines shut for 24 hours. They can't start back power. 2 things going to fix that. Number one, a lot of us, myself and also Brookfield and the owners and some of our other people, are talking to the Corps to allow multiple gate changes during the day so we can address that. And that will help a lot. The other thing is Energy recognizes the problem, and they're going to, end of this year, November of 18, they're supposed to be beginning the process of fixing that red gum line to where it can handle the transmission, the full transmission. So that'll be a great thing for us, and we're working hard to make sure that all comes to fruition. Also, the reason why they only allow one gate change per the Corps is that 30% of the Mississippi River has to be diverted to the Chaffalaya River through the old river control structure and the hydro. Those 2 structures carry that 30% flow. So when they have that gate change, the Corps has to go and change that other gate to allow for the 30%. They got to keep it at 30%. So that, even though Brookfield's offering, hey, we'll pay you money to let us, to help you change your gate multiple times so we can, reach our full capacity. That's in negotiation now as we speak. New Orleans, we've got a letter here probably 6 or 7 months ago. They denied that again, but still working on it. So we're hoping those things can be ironed out here in the near future. And but I think the good news is what Elizabeth's telling you, Vidalia's future got a lot of money they're going to have to make sure we're good stewards of, that's for sure. And I think we stand in a great time here in our town, especially with these new businesses coming on. It's just a good feeling in the air that we got our bridge going to be completed here next month. I think they'll finally have all the approaches all fixed and landscaped and opened and striped, and that's going to be exciting. And I got word from Guy Murray yesterday that DOT is probably going to let out bids for the complete resurfacing of Carter Street. That'd be a hiccup, but it won't be near about a longer process. So when that all gets done, we'll have a new main highway going through town, and we'll have our bridges open. We'll have hopefully businesses, people working. I encourage you to get a minute to go by the old AL building. Some of the staff went out there this morning, and you should see the assets they've done moved in out there. We went in the building, and now we see why they're going to use a lot of power. There's stacks and stacks of machines that have big generators on them, and things that they're gonna be using in their process. They're gonna use a big power supply. Use a lot of power. So again, we're excited about all these. Denim is coming, and I think with all those things, and also the port's coming along. We also rode out there and just got a feel for it. They're getting there as well. So I just put in my mayor's message today that I can't wait I wish I could jump forward a year and a half and see what our town's gonna look like. We're having a lot of people starting to kick the tires about opening new businesses. Dollar Tree's about, McDonald's coming in, and I think very soon we will see more coming. So I've also had an inquiry for a hotel, possibly on this end of town. So, a lot of things going on. Bill?
Mr. Mayor, when they do the main Carter Street, the highway department going to go ahead and do Riverside and Washington Street like they're supposed to do? No.
No, that needs to be, to my knowledge, Bill, no, that would be that.
We had a proposal to do it, and I didn't make the last meeting that they voted on it. What happened there?
They chose not to do
The
it.
board chose not to do it. The state's going to give us the money to do it, and the board voted not to do it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Question for Elizabeth. Can you, since you've been dealing with this for a while, can you tell us how many of the, lack of a better way of saying, non-productive years, non-rebate years there was in these periods? Can you say, was there 5, 6, 7?
I started working with the town in 2012, and there was one, to my knowledge, you're talking about when a rebate was given?
The board voted yes.
So it's an unusual thing where we
I knew
don't
that.
have a little bit.
Oh, what, I thought you meant when one was actually given, or when there was,
No. I'm talking about
oh, wasn't there enough money?
Yes.
There wasn't enough money every year. There wasn't.
But wasn't there deductions though that were not in 1, 2, or 3?
There was the debt service, there was the municipal complex bond was paid out of the hydro fund for whenever that bond started. That just fell off last year, or not fell off, but still owed, but not taken out of the hydro. So that would have decreased the amount available. So I don't have the exact which years, but there were
I
years.
wouldn't expect you to have an exact.
There was, some years there was some available, some years there wasn't, but there were other things that were taken out besides just the power cost and 38 mills.
Okay, any other questions on the hydro? Well, I'd like to thank you for your time again. If any of these things that you want, I want to tell the public that these are in our office. You're welcome to come pick them up. The ordinance itself, any of the calculations that Elizabeth has used, I want to make them available to you. Because this is in black and white. So there's no finagling with this. You have what you received as far as what you made. You have the power cost. You have the other, and we can document it and show it to you. So with that being said, I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
Hey.